Hello and welcome to SaaS Marketing Insights, the show where we ask SaaS founders, CEOs, marketers and investors about the lessons they've learned in their quest to grow their companies. My name is Paul Stevenson and I'm founder and CEO at SaaS marketing agency 47 Insights. On today's show, I have an interview with Kimia Hamidi, co-founder and CEO at content marketing solution Ghostit. Hope you enjoy it. Today I'm pleased to have Kimia Hamidi from Ghostit, and you're the co-founder and CEO, is that right?
Correct.
Great. Thanks for being here. It's
Absolutely, my
great pleasure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And this is one of our first shows, so who knows how it's going to go.
It'll be great. I have no doubt. It's my pleasure to be here.
So start off by telling us how you got started in the world of SaaS, because you're a pretty young guy.
Yeah, it was sort of by my excuse me. It was sort of by my own volition. The dream was corporate law. I was going to be a corporate lawyer.
I didn't know that.
I know. Many people didn't. And so, essentially, out of business school, I was going to go into corporate law, and I was going to be the corporate lawyer. And I wanted to be a lawyer before Suits came out, and kind of the hipster lawyer, if you will. And I networked so hard. I had a stack of legal business cards like this thick, which is not a challenge. You just ask for their business card. But I weaseled my way into this one networking. It was a networking event where there were entrepreneurs and lawyers, and they were soliciting business from the entrepreneurs and vice versa in Vancouver. And I spoke to Ken from Procurify. And basically what they do is they do financial optimization software where it's you're spending too much here, you can spend a little bit more here, that kind of thing. And the realization in kind of out of our talk was you can create something from nothing so valuable that people will pay for it. Like he's got contracts with Boeing, like they're killing it. They're absolutely killing it. And that blew my mind.
You had this light bulb moment.
Yeah, it was incredible because I was like, I have this horrible thing in my career where I say, how hard can it be? I can do that. Yeah. It's incredibly hard. It's very difficult. But I say, how hard can that be? You know, I can put a team together. I can do this. I'm competent. And that kicked off my journey. So that's kind of what led me into playing around with a few ideas, which I eventually executed on one. But we'll dive into that later.
Sure. So your current business is Ghostit. I say
Correct.
current because there's probably more in the pipeline, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Ghostit's
serial entrepreneur.
Yeah. Well, it's been three. So to date, I've started 3 companies. The first of which failed. The second did okay, and I ran into co-founder issues. So I ended up selling my stake back to the company, and currently I'm working on Ghostit, and it's been a phenomenal success. And we've
So who's your co-founder in Ghostit?
Rahul Bhatia. So excuse me. The initial kind of founding was February of 2016, where I came up with the idea, and it was between this and student loan refinancing. So, which is the complete
this is so
opposite.
much sexier.
Oh, I know, right? Small business automation, yeah, completely. And so basically, why I started it was I was looking at business Facebook pages, and they were just really bad. Like they were off-brand, they were inconsistent. Like I'm sure you can point to a time when you've seen a business's Facebook page where their last post was May of 2016.
Yeah, that might be mine.
Well, that's come talk to us. We'll help you out. And what we found was consumers now expect a bare minimum level where you have to be online on your channels, and it's not expensive to do. It takes a little bit of management, but if you can automate that process, which is what Ghostit does, you now have that bar where customers can say, yes, you're relevant, you're up to date, and it's very likely that if you aren't up to date, they'll switch to a competitor that is, yeah. Right? And that's kind of what founded Ghostit. And so I played with the idea. I kind of walked into a bunch of different businesses and said, would you pay for this? Would you pay for someone to manage your Facebook page? I didn't collect money, which was I should have. And they said yes. And then I connected with Rahul, and we've obviously grown it far past what it was in the initial idea to then.
Right. So that's where it started out. So for the benefit of everybody, including me.
Yes. Just
outline, what Ghostit is today in terms of the product and services that you guys offer.
Absolutely, yeah. So the elevator pitch, if you will, is we automate small to medium sized businesses' online presence. So social media, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn, blog posts, and email newsletters. And so the reason why we're different from a generic content mill is we take a strategic approach to it. We say, who's your target audience? Who are your competitors? What are they doing? What's working well? What's not working well? how do we create a content narrative that your audience is actually going to respond to? So from that content strategy, there's a bit more to it than that, but from that content strategy, a writer's brief is created, which we then give to our in-house writers. Because initially, we were outsourcing all of our writing, and we were actually spending too much money on editing the content, so we're just losing money. It just didn't work. So we eventually pivoted to hiring our writers in-house. So we give the writer's brief to the writer, they create all the content, and we have our own scheduling software that we load up the social posts, the emails, and the blogs into, and they automatically post to the business's channels. So the short version is, if you know Hootsuite or Buffer, it's a Hootsuite or Buffer that self-fills with original strategic content.
Amazing. And I think, that's the difference between what you guys are doing. I mean, I know for you, there's a lot of work up front in looking at customer personas, working on the strategy. So typically what we've seen up until now is a lot of sort of fly-by-night companies that they'll create content for you. It's so many cents a word or whatever.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I have a huge gripe against pricing per word. I think it's garbage because it's not natural, right?
Just a commodity.
That's right. Yeah. And so while we do have pricing in a word range, it is very rarely to that. Like we on our pricing page, we say 550 to 750 words, but they often end up around mid thousands. But we don't even count it.
Sure. And so you guys have been going since February last year?
So that was the idea.
The original?
Yeah, that was the original idea. And then Rahul came on a month and a half after that, because I remember him coming. I remember we signed our co-founding agreement in May. And then essentially it was us spinning our wheels for the first 8 months.
Trying to work out what the hell you got.
We were just trying to figure it out. We couldn't, because we would say, okay, you know what? We're just going to build a social scheduler. It's going to be our lead magnet. And then the social scheduler took way too long to build. Because neither of us are technical.
Yeah, because I think when we first met, you were still working.
That's right. Yeah, because I approached you for some advice, and
bad move.
That's okay. I've learned better. No, I'm joking. And so we spun our wheels until then, and we hadn't even incorporated. We had a few paying customers, but it was very, very low. And in August 17th, 2016, and I'll always remember that day. That is when we incorporated. And we invested, obviously the software aside, we put $300 into our incorporation documents. We're like, oh, it's real. It's real now. And we really started to figure things out then. Because what we actually realized was there's only so many ways to say, look at me on social. If you don't tell the audience where to go or what to do, calls to action, links, you have to pull them out of the social channels, which is counterintuitive because we are sort of platform dependent. If Facebook didn't exist, we would have to find a new medium.
Sure.
But if you just post Facebook posts, that doesn't actually do anything for you. So you have to post links, and that's what got us into blog, and that's what got us into SEO, and it's been growth since there. And then email obviously is another channel that we do as well.
Yeah, so do you kind of send out, is the email like a digest of the blog post?
Yeah, it can be a bunch of different things. So we structure the content strategy around the business's goal. So if they're looking for email signups, we'll add these calls to action on the blog. Yeah. And then we have a real estate app company that we work with, and their whole goal is to drive email engagement from their subscribers back to the app. So we'll write, here's our 2 favorite blog posts. Here's the newest features of the app. You can check them out here. And then we write the calls to action. And then we can actually show them click maps of our content. And we can see, okay, people are really responding to the blog because we've got a 40% click-through rate. Yeah. People aren't really responding to this feature, but people love online applications. You have a 90% click-through rate there. And that's really powerful to the business because then we can create content around that feature because obviously people are responding well to that.
And obviously, it's a kind of SaaS-like service. You've got a tiered pricing model.
Correct.
So where's it start at and how far?
Yeah, so our pricing is actually very competitive and very easy. We start at $300 a month, and that's an email newsletter, 15 social posts. So it's every other day. And the way we pitch it is if you want to add any social posts, that's a really nice balance.
Yeah, you can fill in. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's the 1 email newsletter and the 15 social posts. You also get access to the content marketing strategy. And then we give you insights on analytics and all that stuff. And then you also get the software, right? And so that's the base tier. The next tier up from that is the 2 blog posts, 15 social posts, and an email newsletter. So it's 4 units of content, which is $500 a month. And then the plan up from that is more blog posts, where it's a blog post a week. So 4 blog posts, all your social channels. So 15 Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, and then an email newsletter. And that's $950 a month.
I think that's incredible value.
It is.
How do you, do you limit the amount of words that you're prepared to write? Because
we don't.
A blog post could be 300 words to 3,000 words.
Absolutely, yeah. So it really comes down to the goals of the customer, right? Yeah. And so, and based on the strategy, and that's another benefit of having our own writers, is we can say, this is the outline, do some research around this. It's not structured. You're not trying to get 551 words. Nope, sorry, right? And so...
So you're all about adding value.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's
do you know what the length is? It's the right length.
It's the right length. Exactly. Yeah, and so that's kind of how we think about it, because we've seen businesses that we didn't expect to see come through our door and say, hey, we need help with content strategy. We need help with content marketing. And we've actually done this exercise where we've mapped out what the cost would be to run Ghostit from zero to one of our plans, and just to hire us. And it's what people don't think about is the management time.
Oh yeah.
If you're going to do it, it's brutal. If you're going to do it yourself, you have to find the freelancer. You have to work out the appropriate rate. You have to give them the content strategy yourself. You then have to check in to see if they're doing the deadlines. You have to get them to use one of these tools or publish it. Yeah. And so that's at least anywhere from 5 to 15 hours a month of just managing that person. Right?
It's opportunity cost, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so we found a really nice blend where it's not just a faceless piece of software. There's a real person writing that content, because, and I'm sure you've seen this in the market right now, there are so many pieces of software that help you send better email, that help you schedule all your social posts, that help you write SEO'd content. But what if you don't know how to write it? Right? That doesn't do anything for you. What if you don't have time to write email newsletters?
Yeah.
Right? And so Ghostit is that really nice blend of, we have in-house writers and we have content coordinators that actually manage the content, where it's cheap enough that it works really well and we also add value, but it also pushes itself out with the software.
Fantastic. So maybe we should talk about the kind of companies that you're working for, the kind of industries. Because,
absolutely, yeah.
On the face of it, the service you offer is so broad. You could work for almost anyone.
That's right, which is actually a problem. It's really bad for our marketing. So we do very well in real estate.
Oh wow!
And I could not tell you why.
Did you just chance upon that, or?
Yeah, and I think so, and it's twofold. We do really well with real estate software. And when I say really well, like, it's all of our content is effective and it drives the numbers up and it's good. Yeah. But when I say really well, it's a lot of real estate companies come to us. So we have a lot of property management companies. We have a lot of realtors themselves.
So how are they hearing about you? Is this word of mouth? Or?
I think it's just content. I honestly
they're seeing your content.
That's right. Yeah. So it's because we obviously use Ghostit for ourselves. Like it'd be very
why not?
Yeah, it'd be very hypocritical if
it's
we
free,
didn't.
right?
That's right. It is. Yeah, it is. It is at cost, if I do say so myself. And I think with realtors, the reason why it makes sense to them, or I could say business professionals as a whole, is they're busy running their thing, their practice. They don't have time to sit down and create all their content themselves, and they know they need to be online. Because if you think about the brokerage model, right? You are all on the same team, but you're competing against each other, right? And so how do you say I'm better than you without saying I'm better than you? Your online presence, right? And I think that's why it works really well. Brokerage companies, they understand the value of search, and so that's why they come to us. And software, the education bar is so low. People know what content is by now. They know they need it, and they just can't execute properly. And so I think that's why they come to us as well.
Great, fantastic. I mean, you guys have sort of built something from nothing.
That's right.
We're completely
bootstrapped.
Yeah, product market fit.
That's right.
And it's all going great guns. So, in terms of being really a very new SaaS business, what insights have you gained? What have you learned from the process? I mean, probably a lot.
Probably learned a lot.
If you had to boil it down to
that's a tough
something
question.
simple.
Yeah, I would say, and this is a little cliche, but your team matters so much. It's so important to constantly edit and refine the team and make sure they're the right fit, because there's no way I can run Ghostit by myself.
No. Right?
And it's whether they're a good culture fit, it's whether they're talented. One of the things that we found is 1 + 1 employees or workers doesn't necessarily equal 2.
No,
it's rarely the case. Like it'll never be that growth. It's usually like 1 + 1 equals
1.5.
Like 1.5. Exactly. And and you know, because we are a SaaS company, a great developer is just like do everything you can to retain them. And I think we've built a really good culture around you know, making sure the team is valued and their input matters. I strongly believe in team veto. So when we bring someone on, we have them meet the team. And if anyone says no, that's down to me to say, like, I've selected my team very carefully.
Yeah, you trust them.
That's right. I trust my team implicitly, right? Because they are building my dream.
Yeah.
They're building something from nothing. They are. And obviously I want to reward them for that. Another insight that I found is not everyone has the answer.
No.
And it's very easy to think that smart people have the answers to things. But a great example of this is VC's anti-portfolio, right? If you look at all the great investments they've missed, VCs are obviously very smart people, right?
Yeah,
but they miss.
Not all the time.
That's right, exactly. And so
they make bad decisions.
They make bad decisions
with hangovers,
yeah, or drunk.
Yeah.
So not every smart person has the answer, right? Just because someone says something that sounds good doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing to do. And we've actually done that. We've taken someone's advice and we've implemented it, and it took us, you know, a little bit of time to develop, and it didn't pan out well. And I'm not to say that I knew the right answer, but it's counterintuitive because you should always seek feedback, but always take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
as well,
yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And it's a really hard balance.
So one of the cool things that you did quite recently was your product hunt launch. Do you want to talk about that? Because
absolutely.
I think you made a big splash in a
we did. Time. We did really well, and it was very fly by the seat of my pants kind of.
And that must have been insightful as well, because I think we talked about it before, and you were telling me how it was Friday night.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, exactly. So so to dive into search on a very surface level, backlinks are important, right? So the more places you can get your link somewhere, it matters. Product Hunt is a very high domain authority website, and I was like, you know what, we can serve some other customers. You know, let's see what happens on Product Hunt. And I was working out of a Starbucks on Friday night. I think it was like 6 p.m. and I was like
alone.
I was alone. I was alone. So Rahul, my co-founder, he was getting engaged, so he was away, and the team was kind of doing their own thing. And I was like, you know what? It'll probably be good. We'll set it up. It'll be fine.
What can possibly go wrong?
Exactly. Like, you know, best case scenario, we get a good backlink. We have a couple signups. No big deal. And we still are running, but we're running a trial at the time where it's 15. It's like your month of social posts.
Yeah.
And so
you're giving something away.
That's right. Yeah. Because with content is subjective.
Yeah.
So you do have to give them something. Like, you have to prove that you can write.
Yeah.
Right? And it matters because essentially they're lending us their brand.
Yeah.
And we work with companies from, you know, big software companies to small to medium-sized businesses in real estate. And it's been hard to pinpoint that down. But so we launched. So I say, what's the worst that can happen, right? What can go wrong? So I launched it on Product Hunt. We have the sign up on the homepage. Get your month free of social posts. And I write up the post, and I submit it to Product Hunt, and then I email Ryan Hoover, the founder of Product Hunt, and I say, "Hey Ryan, congratulations on Ship, because he just launched his product called Ship. You know, this is who I am. This is Ghostit. We automate small to medium-sized businesses' online presence. I would love to hit the front page. You know, I'd love to get a shout out." He responds within like 3 minutes. Yeah, no worries. In retrospect, Friday night is the worst time to launch on Product Hunt because no one's on Product Hunt.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. I was like, it'll be fine. And we designed the website in Webflow, and the notifications were triggered to go to Rahul's phone. And he was obviously out partying because he just got engaged, right? And it's in Webflow's form. Webflow, if you're listening, your forms are bugged. The form submissions don't show on the back end of the website. I know, that's what I said.
What happens? They just go straight to
email notifications. That's right. Yeah, right, okay. Which is not good. And so I finish up my work. I go home. I finish up a bit more work, and then I go to sleep. And I wake up in the morning, and because I have no boundaries, I immediately call Rahul. And I say, "Hey man, congratulations. You know, I'm stoked for you, but ghost it."
Yeah. Guess what I did?
Guess what I did? Exactly. And I call him like relatively early, like he's still pretty hungover. And I'm like, dude, we got like 7 signups. And he checks his phone. He's got 54 notifications from Webflow. He's like, "No man, we have like 50 signups." was like, oh my God, what the heck? So I immediately switched the notification to my phone, right? And we get 200 signups in 48 hours. We're product of the day. It was insane. It was crazy.
Mental.
Yeah, it was mental. And one of the things that I did, which may have helped, is every time someone prominent upvoted me on Product Hunt, I would screenshot them with the upvote, and I would tweet at them. I'd say, "Hey, Niv Drouar, he upvoted us," and I say, "Hey, Niv, thanks for the upvote." And he liked that, and that got us some press or a little bit of a network effect, right? And that probably helped. But for the next month, we were just, because our inbound was not nearly at the point of 248 hours.
Yeah.
There's just no way. And so we were kind of fielding through that. And that's actually what propelled us into all these other niches, right? And so now, instead of just kind of like we're the content automation company for realty, we're anywhere from software apps to massive software companies. Like there's this company.
So it allowed you to kind of test the business in a whole lot of different sectors.
Exactly. Yeah, it was
Smart
phenomenal.
move.
Yeah. Well, yes, I can take all the credit. It was completely intentional.
It was thanks to Starbucks coffee.
It was thanks to Starbucks.
Thanks, Starbucks.
Thank you, Starbucks. Our address is 3 Fantan Alley. You can send free gift cards if you like. And it's funny because our initial office for Ghostit was Starbucks. Like before we had office space, we worked at a Starbucks.
Man, maybe that Starbucks on a ley line or something.
I know.
Magical.
We should move back to that Starbucks. It was great because that was the same Starbucks. Because we worked at a Starbucks for 6 months. Like that was our office.
That's great.
We just hustled. Yeah, it was great. And now obviously we've
still hustling.
Still hustling. Yeah. It's been crazy. It's been a wild ride, and we're still growing tremendously quickly.
Yeah. So as I alluded to earlier, you're a young guy. I think you're still in college,
Correct.
technically.
Correct? Unfortunately. Yes,
Okay.
Unfortunately I am. So
Okay.
I am studying economics while also running Ghostit, and I have 10 classes left. And I know university is important. And my dad is an immigrant from Iran, and he is very get your degree. You have still to this day, Ghostit is doing well. Like no joke.
But it's not good enough for him.
So here's the story. So
it's like I know your dad.
You do know my dad. So my dad works in software security, and
Sure.
And it was his birthday the other day, and we were at a Japanese restaurant, and I was telling him, I was like, Dad, 40% month over month growth, amazing, right? Anyone who heard that, that's really good. Yeah. And he's like, son, that's great. How'd your midterm go? And then after, I'm like, but listen to all these things going on in Ghostit. He's like, here's what you should do. You should get your degree, get your MBA, and go work in the Valley for another company. I'm like, I have my own company. What are you thinking? So there's
Why
obviously,
would I do that?
I know, right? I've leapfrogged 3 of those steps, right?
Yeah.
And I have plans to finish up the degree. Up to the
just
point
for your
where,
dad, right?
just for the family.
Get him off your back.
I do see the value. Yeah, I do see the value in economics, and I know that being classically trained is important. But I'm at the point now where Ghostit is so all encompassing. That it's just it's very I'm taking minimal classes right now. I'm only in 2 per semester, so it's a slow grind.
So over this whole kind of journey, obviously you've learned a lot about business, a lot about SaaS, some economics.
Some economics, most of business is SaaS.
What would you say, for you and your career development so far has been the biggest personal growth insight? Do you have a habit, something to sharpen your mental saw?
Yeah, much to the chagrin of my girlfriend, I am constantly plugged in. Podcasts, audiobooks, I'm always reading. I really enjoy learning about how we can improve Ghostit. So whether it's search, email marketing, social marketing, I just love the space. I'm genuinely interested in seeing what other people are doing that's working and how I can apply it to my own business. That and put your ego aside, because when I first started, my attitude was, I can do this, it'll be fine, and and then you get beat down and beat down again and beat down again, and you cannot have a big ego and also be unbelievably resilient. The best way I would describe myself is I'm unbelievably persistent and unbelievably resilient. I will grind and grind and grind until I get there. And you just got to check your ego, because you don't know everything. There are so many people who know so much more than you. Yeah. And the best way to build a great company is to learn everything from everyone else and then apply it.
Yeah, and be prepared to learn from anyone, which is always, it doesn't matter what level people
absolutely.
are at or
Absolutely.
what door they come in through. There's always stuff you can learn.
Everyone has something to teach you,
Yeah.
so try and be open-minded. And that would be my insight. That's helped me tremendously.
Fantastic. Kimia, thank you very much
Absolutely,
for
my pleasure.
being one of our first guests on this podcast. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Kimia. For more info on Ghostit, please visit www.ghostit.co. Next week, I'll be talking with Will Fraser, co-founder and CEO at Sasquatch. For more info about this show and to get our links to iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher and YouTube, please visit www.47insights.com/podcast. And if you have any SaaS marketing insights that you'd like to share on the show, get in touch via that page. Until next time.